the cost of technology, avoiding the inevitable. We'll be looking at the environmental side and the fiscal side of the cost of technology, both ways to avoid your impact into the environment, and some genuine ways that you could go away from today and look at ways of saving your bottom line, backed up by some real world examples of companies that I've been helping in the last 12 months. So you've got all of that to look forward to. So we're talking about e-waste, so you don't really need the definition of e-waste, any electronic waste. One of the biggest causes of e-waste is planned obsolescence. So the definition of planned obsolescence is a situation in which goods are deliberately made or designed so they do not last for a long period. So our technology is designed to not last as well as it could, and so you have to replace it unnecessarily. And perceived obsolescence is, where you're replacing technology because you think it's, out of fashion or less desirable now, and we'll show some examples of that. So it's hard not to talk about Apple when you're talking about planned obsolescence. I'm sure everyone here has their own first-hand experiences of this. 2018, Apple were fined $27 million by French prosecutors, so the French managed to get them. They admitted to purposefully designing flaws into their iOS. I'm sure if you've ever done an iOS update, it's broken your phone. It's fully planned into their business model. It's a perfect example of why we replace devices unnecessarily. The devices definitely could last much longer. But that's all part of the plan. Printer ink is an interesting one. It's another example of planned obsolescence. So printer ink, on average, is more expensive, or nearly twice as expensive as Chanel No. 5 perfume, some champagnes, and some premium scotch. I hope you can take this, Justin. I did put a note here to say not as expensive as Justin's Waypool wines. And then this example, so General Motors, this isn't obviously electronic, this is just like a technical example of perceived obsolescence. But they were kind of known for coining perceived obsolescence because in 1920 their sales were very low, they were having issues, and they started making very minor appearance changes yearly, which absolutely boosted the sales. It's changed what we know as the automotive industry, where cars are now bought for looks rather than what the actual technology is. We're spending more on our technology more frequently because of this. If technology lasts as long as it could, you wouldn't have to spend so much. Obviously from a personal point of view, like a residential side, and from a business side. But most importantly, e-waste is the fastest growing source of waste to landfill. In the last 250 years, 50% of the carbon that we put in the atmosphere was in the last 250 years, and now e-waste, after the Industrial Revolution, is now becoming the biggest source, or the biggest problem that we've got, and it is pretty much all going to landfill. So by 2030, we expect we'll produce 74 million tonnes of e-waste, and only 17% of that was recycled in 2020. Due to, it is difficult to recycle electronics, but we don't really have the procedures in place right now. The effects of that are unknown, so 82% of that is going straight into landfill. It's a fairly recent problem in the grand scheme of things, that's going into our water, our soils. Long-term effects are unknown. In lower economic countries, most of that is just burnt, poisoning the air and the people recycling. So, especially for businesses, I think upgrading, reusing isn't thought about enough. In business, it's very easy to replace things where it's not suitable for that person or that solution anymore. You can normally find somewhere else in the business that it can be used, rather than just throwing things away. So, for example, if someone has a graphic designer has the high-spec PC and that's no longer applicable for that person, if it doesn't need to be used for a business-critical solution, but it could be used as a display machine, can be left in the corner or something. And also just taking time to do your annual budgeting for your IT hardware. So, this is something that companies would do for you, like a good IT company would plan your annual budget, replacing things so it's not too early, not too late, which obviously helps with your expenditure as well, but make sure you're not replacing devices unnecessarily. Again, for the larger businesses in here, you can get paid for your waste. You'd normally need to accumulate quite a lot, so you can normally donate this to an IT company, so we can do proper recycling, e-waste recycling for you, and most good IT companies should be able to do that as well. And then the same with donations. Most popular way of donating your leftover devices will be for public schools. Most public schools have low requirements and they have little budget as well, so they're pretty happy to take whatever you've got. Genmar is still running a donation scheme. If you have any leftover devices at your house, we can repurpose them for schools.